This episode on Beers in the Shed, we're going to reveal our best and worst used four-wheel drive buys under 10, 20 and 30 grand.
Right at the moment is the prime time to be a buyer.
They are surprisingly capable for what they are. I reckon bang for buck as a first four-wheel drive, they're a good thing. We're going to be speaking to an expert on how you can find new four-wheel drive tracks in your area.
It is the number one tool for beginners to go out there and find tracks. I can't go four-wheel driving now without it.
Shauno, are you there, mate?
I certainly am, mate, and to prove it, I don't know if you can hear that, Jocko, but that is a cold 4X getting cracked in the Queensland sun, mate. Cheers.
Roger that, mate. I'm going to do the same. Let's get into it, eh?
Let's get right into it. I'm very excited about this because it's a very timely topic, and I think it's on a lot of people's minds. I've been following the second-hand market, like I know you have, I know Jesse has, and Graham. We're mad keen four-wheel drivers and always checking what bargains are out there. And I reckon right at the moment is the prime time to be a buyer, which is very exciting. Very different from COVID times, mate.
Yeah, very different, mate. The market has changed and there's some crackers to buy out there at the moment. So let's hook in, eh?
Yeah, exactly right. Let's hook right in. I guess you've got a couple of picks of sub $10,000 vehicles, sub 20,000, sub 30. Let's start with the sub $10,000 vehicles, Jocko. And I guess this really suits a first four-wheel drive buyer or someone on a real budget. Now, I just want to point out one thing as well. Something I've noticed, Jock, is there is a big disparity in prices on the internet at the moment. There's realistic prices, I'd like to call it, and then there's dreaming prices where people still think it's COVID times and they've got a clapped out old GQ that's worth $40,000. It's never going to happen. So you've got to, I guess, do your research, find out what these vehicles are worth, and don't just take everything as gospel online. So let's get into the sub 10,000, Jock. You go first, mate. What should people be looking for? You've only got 10 grand to, that's all you got. What are you going to buy?
Well, yeah, mate, I reckon this is a real good one. This is an area that I've spent a lot of time buying four-wheel drives, and I reckon my best buy for a four-wheel drive under 10 grand, speaking from experience, mate, it has to be a Land Rover Disco 1. And you're probably going to start laughing.
Hang on. Jock. A Disco 1.
Yep.
You have every single vehicle to choose from out there. We started fresh.
Do.
We had a clean slate, and you've chosen a Disco 1. What is the go? Please explain.
Yeah, mate, well, there's a couple of reasons why. I reckon from factory, they've got some of the best suspension geometry for off-road driving you can get in a four-wheel drive, hands down. That's number one. The second is they're comfortable on the road, they're capable off-road, they're not that expensive, and in standard form, they are surprisingly capable for what they are. I reckon bang for buck as a first four-wheel drive, they're a good thing. However, there are a couple of things you need to note on them. First being they are, 30 years old now and such, so parts in particular are going to be expensive. You are going to spend a bit more maintaining them. And the jokes are there. They do leak a little bit of oil, but I mean, again, that goes back to the parts thing. Keeping them maintained will cost a bit more, but for under 10 grand in terms of what you get for your money, speaking from experience, I bought the Disco 1 for $6,000 and it has been fantastic for what I got.
Okay, look, I agree with most of those points, mate. I think that they are a cheap vehicle. They're comfortable. They have fantastic suspension. They're quite capable, all the rest of it. But it's like they were built on a Friday afternoon, the way they were put together. The electrical, in my opinion, doesn't really hold up. But you have a lot more experience than I do. I would say, if I could just add one thing, my opinion is that a Jeep or a Land Rover is a fantastic buy, but only if you're sort of mechanically inclined, because you will be working on the vehicle a little bit, and the money you're saving, if you're on a budget and you're trying to get a cheap deal, you don't want to blow the rest of your money by trying to fix this thing and keep it on the road. So if you're mechanically minded, I reckon they're a really smart option, like you said, mate. Now, I'm going to start with a sub $5,000 vehicle before I get into my picks. Mm-hmm. And this comes from experience as well. I've told this story a number of times, but I had some friends that came out to Australia. They only had a $5,000 budget to go around Australia, and they gave me that budget to get a car ready. When they flew over here, they wanted to drive around. And of course, they didn't want to work on the vehicle. They weren't mechanically minded, and they needed some money in that $5,000 budget to actually accessorize it and live out of the vehicle. So
that's a tall order.
It's a massive order, mate. And this is not going back that long ago, mate. It was still, colour TVs in the era that I'm talking about. We're going back probably about 6 or 7 years, and I bought them a Mitsubishi Pajero. I think it was an NM, an older one, and we bought that for about $3,000, $2,000 to kit it up. They went 6 months around Australia, never missed a beat. So some bargains can be had out there, there's no doubt about it, and that gets me onto Pajeros, because I reckon they're a fantastic cheap buy. They're not the coolest vehicle getting around. We've all heard the Pajero jokes, mate, but in terms of a cheap, reliable vehicle, I reckon it's pretty hard to go past some of those early Pajeros.
It's such a good one, mate. I reckon, I've always said this too, Pajeros are probably one of the most underrated wagon four-wheel drives that you can get. The fact that there's a fair few of them around, they're cheap, they're reliable. Sure, they won't do everything amazingly, but bang for buck, you'd be hard-pressed to find one much better. And I'm sure your friends who did 6 months around the country probably had an amazing time in that vehicle too.
They get this right, and now you can't get a better motoring story than this. They spent $5,000 on it, lived out of it for 6 months. They sold it for $5,000 at the end of it. So they got 6 months of free motoring around this country. They went to Western Australia, all up the Queensland coast. They went just about everywhere and lived the absolute dream. Now, I'm not going to say every single second-hand vehicle is going to go that way. Usually the cheaper you buy, the more dramas you're going to face. But if you can get one that's semi been looked after, you see, if you're buying something that hasn't been absolutely thrashed off-road, chances are, you know, it's not going to let you down too dramatically. I'd like to move into a couple of other sub $10,000 vehicles. This is a beautiful price point, because you'll see, if you're looking at a sub $10,000 vehicle, set your targets for anything under $16,000. So actually set your target for 16 grand, because you'll be able to bargain down sub $10,000 in my opinion. It's a buyer's market right now. If you come in with a half decent offer and you're serious, you'll walk away with a $16,000 vehicle at $8,000 or $9,000. Mark my words, Jesse Gleason will probably walk away for about $5,000.
Yeah, you know, he's the king of that. Yeah.
He really is, mate. And so that sort of opens the scope a little bit more. Now, I've seen some really good 60 series, believe it or not. I'm not just saying that because there's one behind me, but there's some beautiful examples of 2H diesels with relatively low kilometres. Like anything under 400,000 Ks is low Ks for old 2H. There's a heap of GQs in that range as well. If I was really keen, all my mates were going down to the Glass House every weekend and going to the Wattigans and all those sort of tougher tracks, I'd be going to GQ hands down in that price point.
You're spoilt for choice. If I had to pick one just to single out, and maybe try and avoid, unless you find a good example, it would be the 4JX1 Jackaroo. I'm specifically talking about the diesel here. The petrol variants of those Jackaroos are fantastic.
If you're looking for a ute and not a wagon, there's a couple of options, but I'd be looking at something a little bit left of centre. Something like a Colorado, even one of the early Tritons. I reckon they're great bang for buck.
Let's bump it up. When are you in under?
Under 20,000, that really opens things up, mate.
It's funny because you mentioned the Pajero for under 10 grand is bang for buck. And for me, for under 20 grand, the Pajero has come up once again. And it's a bit of a later model. I've picked the, I believe it's the NS Pajero, which is a little bit newer.
Oh, yeah?
And then if your budget's 20, you got a bit more to spend on mods. And again, such an underrated vehicle and an awesome platform to use as a daily and as a weekend touring and camping rig.
And on that same vein, mate, what about the Prado? I think the Prado is a fantastic buy. Now, what I'd do in the Prado is I'd probably look for a petrol variant. I'd go for the V6, and you get a lot better bang for buck, I think, with a petrol Prado in that sub $20,000 price range. I reckon the petrols, yes, they can be a little bit thirsty, but that 4 litre, mate, is absolutely bulletproof. And like I said, you'll get a lot lower kilometre, more modern vehicle for your dollars. If you look around, you'll be able to find a really nice 80 series. I'd be going for something like, maybe like sooty, like a 1HDT or something in that price point. One that hasn't been completely flogged, and those prices are definitely coming down big on the cruisers at the moment.
Speaking of vehicles, mate, that I think are still overpriced, and this would be my one to avoid under 20 grand. Now, it's not because it's a bad vehicle. They are fantastic and so much fun. But of course, mate, I'm talking about the mighty Suzuki Sierra. And now, don't get me wrong, they are so much fun. And as a first four-wheel drive,
vehicle.
Grassroots wheeling, you have to really pick lines. As you know, mate, it was your first four-wheel drive and you learned to wheel in it and stuff. They're awesome vehicles to drive, but they're quite expensive. And I think for the money a lot of people are spending on them, you're not getting a lot of car for your money. You know, when we were looking for Clifford, we were struggling to find a Zouk. You know, they're all in the 10 to 15 grand mark, which I think for how much four-wheel drive you get, it's a lot of money, But yeah, I'd tend to agree with you. A vehicle I'm going to chuck into the mix, mate, of one to avoid in that price range is a Troopy. Now you're going to think, Jock, you're probably thinking, what's going on with this bloke? But I would stay well away from a good price Troopy. And the reason I say that is because, let's face it,
A lot of these Troopies in that price point have been absolutely flogged. A lot of people have lived out of them. They've gone and done a lot of beach work, and let's face it, guys with a cheaper Troopy would typically spend more money on sponsored Facebook posts than actually maintaining their vehicle. You're going to find a lot of rust and a lot of mechanical dramas with them as well. So I'd stick away from your cheaper Troopies, because most of the ones I've ever seen, mate, have been absolutely clapped out at that price point.
Mate, there's some sound advice there, and I reckon before we get into the big 30 grand ones, our top picks for that price range, let's have a look at this ripper of a Black Friday deal from Oricom, because it's a pearler, mate. Oricom have dropped their best Black Friday deal yet. It is, of course, the award-winning UHF 360 paired with a 6.5 dBi antenna with free delivery anywhere in Australia for just $279. So you're saving $149. Let me take you through what you get. So the mighty UHF 360, I've been using these for years in a bunch of different four drives. The reason I like them so much is all the controls are on the handpiece, which means you can tuck the transceiver out of the way anywhere you want. You get a nice long cable to mount the handpiece anywhere. Got quick change channel and volume buttons. Pair that with a black 6.5 dBi antenna, which really is the ultimate all-rounder for hilly terrain and flat open areas. The best value UHF setup you can get right now. So jump onto oricom.com.au and don't miss out getting yourself a brand new UHF combo for your four-wheel drive. Well, Sean, now we come to the big one, 30 grand. Now, this is a fair bit of money to spend, I guess, on a four-wheel drive. You're looking for something that's going to be doing the daily drive. You want something maybe a bit more modern, a bit newer, a bit nicer that can still go out on the weekend with your mates and go camping. The vehicle I would buy for under 30 grand would be an N70 Hilux. And I have done that. The N70 that I bought was $27,000. It had done around 150,000 Ks, which is pretty good. And it was fantastic. It did everything I wanted. It was capable, it was reliable, it was comfortable. It was just a good Monday to Friday, I guess, tradie rig, for lack of a better term. And then on the weekends, took it out with mates camping. It did everything I asked of it. I guess I would mention, though, that being a Toyota, it is on the higher end of that 30 grand scale. Like, you are still paying closer to 30 grand for them. But I think if you want just a good daily, the N70 is probably the go. A couple of things I would mention, though, if I can, mate, just quickly on things to keep an eye out with those N70s. The two being, if you are getting an earlier one, so I'm talking between 2006 to 2010, I would make sure the injectors have at least been checked or changed if it's done over 150,000 Ks. The later model ones, again, still important, but I think Toyota made some adjustments later to that. And the second one, which is just a little bonus, if you buy one between 2010 and 2015, you'll get bigger rear wheel bearings and a few extra little bits and pieces like that they updated as it went on. So the N70 would be my pick. Mm-hmm.
For me, my number one pick, and it's a vehicle I've always wanted to own, is a 100 series, the turbo diesel 100 series. Now, we're talking about like a $40,000 vehicle about 12 months ago. You can get one of those for around that $30,000 mark, a really low K FTE IFS 100 series in pretty good condition with sort of medium kilometres, around that sort of 350,000 K mark. That for me would be the ultimate. They drive super nice. They're a fantastic tourer. They'll tow, they'll do everything you want, and nice and reliable as well. There's no huge problems with those. I would go for a manual if it was an option rather than the 5-speed auto. They are a little bit more bushproof and a little stronger, but again, like now we're talking, that's a vehicle that was way out of your price range. It's probably maybe just dropped into that sub $30,000 mark now.
With vehicles to avoid in that kind of 30 grand mark, I'm going to stick with dual cabs, mate, and my pick would be the Ford Ranger. If I was buying a Ford Ranger under 30 grand, I'd probably... The reason for that, the main reason, is because, in my opinion, there are other variants of dual cabs out there that are possibly a bit more reliable and a bit better suited. Like, for example, the Ford JJ1 D-Max and the N70 Hilux, as I mentioned before. I just think Ford Rangers, if they're on the cheaper end of the spectrum, they did have a few reliability issues with that 5-cylinder and the automatic transmission in particular. unless you got your heart set on one, you find a really good one, and I'm sure there are good examples of it. I don't think I would spend my hard-earned close to 30 grand on a second-hand Ranger if there were better options out there.
Yep. In a similar vein, mate, suggest staying away from the AMROCs in that price point as well. So you pick up quite a modern AMROC in there. They're very comfortable, powerful, they'll tow fantastic. But again, in my opinion, mate, just a second-hand AMROC I'd stay away from. Even some of your Jeeps as well, I'd probably stay away from in that price point.
Sean, mate, there are some good suggestions there for under 10, 20 and 30 grand. But what we're really keen to know is what would you guys at home pick? Or did you pick one of those in that price bracket? Let us know how you found it. Was it everything you wanted it to be? What vehicle would you choose?
And also let us know if you found a bargain recently. Now, chances are a lot of you guys are bargain hunters. You would have found something awesome on the internet. Let us know if you've recently picked up a bargain and what you paid for it if you don't mind.
Jesse Gleason will be in there commenting real quick, mate. He's like, oh, I got this GQ from down the coast for $500. It doesn't run.
Yeah, stole it off an old lady.
Sounds like Jesse. Now, mate, in the last episode, we spoke about something that is really important right now, that being track closures and how we as a community can do more because there's only going to be more tracks closed moving forward. Now, with that in mind, what do you do in the meantime? You know, there's plenty more tracks to explore, plenty more places to see, and how can four-wheel drivers as a community come together and share that information so that we can ensure we're responsible and using tracks safely and properly? Now, one of the ways we can do that is with an app that you've probably heard of before called Newtracs. And if you haven't, now's a really good time to learn about it because it serves as a really important way that us as four-wheel drivers can share information about the places we're exploring and how we can make four-wheel driving moving forward safer and more enjoyable. Now, I sat down with James to chat about the app and how it works. Well, James, thanks for coming up and having a chat with us, mate. Let's get into it because we've got a lot to talk about. Track closures, particularly at the moment in New South Wales and Queensland, are becoming a big thing. And Sean reckons as well that he's seen some tracks be graded down in Tassie. He was down there recently. What's the situation in Victoria? What have you found out on the tracks?
So in Victoria, we are really sport for choice with the number of places that we can actually go. That being said, there are places that are in discussion to close down, especially vast areas of famous four-wheel drive areas in the high country. The importance of Newtracs as a platform is becoming more apparent. It is the number one tool to help you find new places to go wheeling.
Now, I guess that's where Newtracs really comes in for, you know, there are tracks that are being shut down and graded, but where you're coming from is look at all these amazing tracks that are in the area that you can find through the app. So explain to me a little bit how that actually works, because it's pretty interesting.
And so the way that the app works is when you log a journey, the GPS trace that you actually create is then analysed and then used in the assessment of all the track grades and understanding where all the obstacles are along the track. So creating a vehicle profile and making sure you log your trips is super, super important for the benefit of the wider community.
And Sean, mate, you recently got back from Tassie and you said you had an interesting question for James as well.
G'day, James. Good to hear from you, mate. Now, I was lucky enough to be using your app down in Tasmania, mate, and it worked an absolute treat. Now, one of the questions I've got is how did it all begin?
Yeah, fair question, Shauno. So I've been wheeling for about 10 odd years now, and I was wheeling for a number of years before I started to realise that there was this problem of being able to find tracks that have recent information that I can then rely on to help and find new places to go wheeling. So I found that I was always revisiting the same places, and it involved the community really from day one. So before I wrote a line of code, I prepared a presentation and took it to a local four-wheel drive club and essentially just pitched it to the group and said, I've got this idea, what did this app need to do? What was the functionality that was required? How would it actually work? What are people's concerns about things like privacy? What is the difficulty rating? How is it determined? All of this information that I was able to gather during these initial conversations to then help determine what the end result would be. So it's a community-driven platform, but it had community-driven roots as well from day one.
And I know, because Jesse just got back from Tasmania, I know he has the premium version on his Apple CarPlay. I do as well, which works real mint because, you can just be driving along, you can have it in the background. But I suppose, as you say, even if whether you have the premium version or you just have the free version, it's just as important to get on there and spread this information so that tracks are getting updated, people are driving them and trying to keep them open and also do the right thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I obviously use the premium version of the app. I've got CarPlay running. It is super handy, so you don't have to have phone mounts or tablet mounts on your car, and it just keeps the dash looking clean and tidy. At the moment, we don't support Android Auto, but it is on the way. In addition to CarPlay, there's a whole bunch of other awesome features, like on the free version, you might see that a track is rated very difficult, but on the premium version, you can actually see where along that track are the difficult spots.
Yeah, okay.
If a track was only updated, say, a year ago, you're not going to be able to know that information on the free version, whereas on the premium version, then I can have a little bit more confidence on the information that's there.
And you said there's, 120,000 four-wheel drivers on there right now using it?
Absolutely, yep.
That's huge. And of course, the more people using the app, the more info that'll be shared, the more up-to-date track information there'll be as well. So if you guys at home have been watching this and you're keen to get on the Newtracs or be part of the Newtracs community, the best way to do that, as we mentioned, is you can download the app. It's free. Or if you want to get the premium version, use it on your head unit, get onto it. Make sure you fill out your vehicle details and log your trips. And you can be part of this wider four-wheel drive community. And we need this information out there so we can keep exploring these tracks moving forward. James, thank you so much, mate.
Cheers, mate.
And I reckon now it's time for Shauno and I to chat about our Gray's top buys of the week. Now, whilst we're on the topic of budget rigs, let's have a look at some affordable vehicles you can get at grays.com. So first up, mate, and this was one we mentioned just before, the mighty Prado, the 120 series Prado. Now, the one I found here, mate, it's a KZJ 120. So that is, before they went to the 1KD, it's the one with the 1KZ in it. So it's an earlier variant, but good engine, reliable, as long as they didn't get hot. But this one looks pretty clean, mate, pretty tidy, and it's done a fair few Ks. It's at 384,000 Ks. So you want to make sure that it's been maintained well. But pretty cheap for, a diesel auto Prado. That's a pretty good buy with that one.
Yeah, gee, don't they hold their values? If you can get a bargain on those, mate, like your resale's going to be pretty good. Jocko, my pick, mate, and this will really suit anybody on a budget, a 2014 Mitsubishi Triton. It's the old MN. Now, some people argue it's a bit of an ugly shape. I reckon the grille, they had a few curves ahead of its time, if you will, but they are such a reliable, bulletproof vehicle, mate. And this one at the moment has a current really low reserve. You're going to get into that one for an absolute bargain.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. I think bang for buck, getting your hands on a Triton's, always a pretty good idea for what you get. Now, next up, you're probably going to scoff at this one, mate, but I found a 2004 Land Rover Discovery with a TD5 in it. And currently it's got no reserve and it's up for $700. Now, it does have 283,000 Ks on it, but for what you get, as I mentioned before, capable, comfortable, reliable-ish, I reckon that would be a fantastic buy.
Now, is that $700? Is that what they're going to pay you to take it away? Is that how that works?
Mate, if I could get a Disco
if it is,
for that, I'd be stoked. I'd be stoked.
A Disco 2, really? Yeah, for $700, you really can't go wrong. I mean, even if that ends up at what do you reckon that realistically will go for? A sub $5,000 vehicle?
I reckon, yeah, probably around there would be pretty reasonable.
Agree, mate. Now, the next one I want to jump into, a 2017 Land Cruiser 79 Series. Now, this is a dual cab. Currently, the reserve is about $30,000. Now, it'll go for a bit more than that, there's no doubt about it, but you can get some really good bargains, even on these higher-end vehicles on Greys, and it just pays to... A lot of my mates do it, mate. They just watch these auctions, and you'll never know, you can absolutely get a bargain.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, if you've got your heart set on a vehicle like a 79 where people are throwing the Instagram parts catalogue at them and expecting ludicrous prices for them, maybe your better option is to go to a site like Grays and see if you can find one for a bargain, as you said.
Jocko, couldn't agree more, mate. We've covered a stack of different vehicles and a bunch of different price points, and it really goes to show that there is something for every single price point out there, whether you want a wagon, a ute, something that's more of a daily drive, something a bit more comfortable or a bit more rugged to go and drive tough tracks. Right now is a buyer's market, so you can pick up some bargains. A big question I want to ask you guys, if there was one vehicle that represents the best value for money, what would it be right now? Let us know in the comments below. Pretty keen to go through that one, Jocko, and see what these guys come up with. And maybe it's something we haven't discussed. Who knows?
Now, I reckon it's time we get into my favourite part of the shed, and I know it is yours too, mate.
Absolutely.
We go from our shed into your shed. Let's do it, eh?
Like I said, Jocko, it really is one of my favourite times of Beers in the Shed. We get to go into your shed, see your rigs, we get to see your fails as well, and also the kids have been hard at work, mate, coming up with some beautiful creations which we'll get onto as well. That's really taken off. The kids are getting into it, building Lego Dirty 30s and Pony Hiluxes, all sorts of stuff. Now, keep in mind, we do have some awesome prizes to give away. We have a couple of 4X merch packs, which are absolutely awesome, as well as some snatch vouchers to give out. So, Jocko, without any further ado, let's jump into it. But before we do that, mate, how can people get their rigs on Beers in the Shed?
Mate, the best way to do it is to use the hashtag 4Drive247fails, 4Drive247rigs, and 4Drive247kids on TikTok, Instagram, or on our official Facebook page, mate.
Now, the first one, Jocko, this one's a little bit different, but I thought I'd share it anyway. How's this for a little bit of a shed setup? They've put their own bar together. They're actually doing beers in their own shed. They've got a pizza oven, they've got a snatch cooler, and what's better still is it's not in Australia. This one is overseas, I think.
Yeah, mate, that's an awesome setup, and good to see that even on the other side of the world, they're having beers in the shed and doing it with some mates and stuff. It's pretty epic, mate.
What's the next one, Jock?
I actually have a rig to show off, mate. This one, it's not my rig, it is HSV Sports Cat. Now, I really like this vehicle because you don't see many modified Colorados around these days, mate. And this one has been beautifully done. We've got a mint train canopy. It's set up for touring. Looks like to spend a bit of time at Fraser Island as well with a Mighty Mahino. But, you know, a nice big canopy set up, rooftop tent, all the bells and whistles. But good to see that there are still modified Colorados out there. And HSV Sports Cat, well done. That's been beautifully put together.
Yeah, I like it, mate. Right down from the bar work to the wheels and tyres. They've done a fantastic job modifying that. Look at it. It's pretty cool to see someone actually go a little bit against the grain. It's not just another Hilux or a Ford Ranger. Yeah, hats off to them, mate. Now, check this one out. This is a big 80 series hitting the water crosser now. Look how he goes into here, mate. That's Nolan's, for those that don't.
It is too.
Look at that. There's water going up and over the bonnet.
Never late on gate, and he's got it on his grill there too. I should get that for the pony, never late.
Always late. Always late, that thing. Oh, that's a textbook drive through Nolan's Crossing, mate, in a beautiful 80 series. Never late on gate.
Now, mate,
you know it's got a bit of power. If you got a hashtag like that, you know this thing absolutely flies.
Oh yeah, I reckon it'd probably give big sort of run for its money, mate.
Most would, mate. What's the next one?
Well, speaking of maybe not textbook drives, but this one is from Darcy Barnes, and it looks like 42-inch traps on it. He's got tube doors, and that is a big hole that he's tripping into. Look at the size of that.
It's probably a daily driver too, Jocko. I reckon you'd take it down to Woolies and, you know, load it up with groceries and take the kids to soccer on the weekends.
I reckon so, mate. It's a practical daily driver, particularly with the exhaust coming out of the bonnet. I reckon.
Well, it's cheaper that way. You don't need as much exhaust pipe. Stainless is expensive, mate. Speaking of fails, Jocko, I want to show you this one, mate. A 60 series on the infamous Billy Goats Bluff in the high country. Now, if anyone's driven that one, it's one of the steepest climbs you'll do, and it's really shaly as well. And once you think you're halfway up, you're not even a quarter. It just keeps going up into the clouds. It's one of those tracks you need to do. You get one of the best views from the top. But if it does go wrong on that track, trust me when I say this, it can be absolutely catastrophic. That's what's happened with this big 60 series here. It's rolled, it's slipped backwards and actually rolled on Billy Goats Bluff.
If there is a silver lining, at least the tow truck picked the vehicle up from Dargo Pub, which is a nice spot to calm the nerves and soothe the ruffled feathers. Christy has sent in what their 9-year-old son has made. It's a bit of a Lego creation towing a boat. Is there two
There's
boats
two,
there,
mate. It's an ultimate tour if you ask me. Look at this. This is something that I'd love to take up into the Kimberley, a rig like this one. 2 boats. Twice the fun, mate.
And look, they've even said Shauno will froth over
I'm frothing,
which,
mate. I'm frothing.
You are.
Now, here's another one. Nicole Mann sent this one in. Now, her young bloke has drawn an awesome little picture of the Dirty 30. It's actually, I'm looking at the Dirty 30 behind me at the moment. It's a pretty good resemblance, mate. Yeah,
Pretty
well done.
It's even got the Australian flag on the front
it's got the
quarter
mitts,
there.
train canopy, it's got all the bar work and stuff like that. Now, I noticed he's also put the small tyres back on it, which I've got as well. I've gone back down to the 35, so his attention to detail is impeccable, mate. Well done.
Well, Sean, mate, from those epic submissions, we've got to pick some prizes, mate. We've got some 4X merch packs to give away and a $50 snatch voucher. So who are you going to pick for the fail, mate?
Jocko, I'm going to go with at Jacob Young 97 with the 60 series on Billy Goat's Bluff. I mean, it's a fail. He's rolled the vehicle, but I'm just thankful that no one got hurt. And the fact that they ended up at the Dargo pub, well, hats off to them. That's a fantastic fail. So you'll be winning a 4X merch pack for that effort.
Big time, mate. And as far as rigs go, I'm going to choose that mighty HSV Sports Cat Colorado that has been so well built, and he's getting out there and using it in a vehicle. You don't see that often on the road anymore. So, mate, you've got a 4X merch pack coming to you.
Yeah, and if I can, I'm going to give one more little snatch prize away to a young little legend who drew an awesome picture of the Dirty 30. Now, he's got it just right with the colours and everything. So, Nicole, your little fella is going to get a snatch voucher for $100. You can jump on the website and pick some new kit ready for summer. Well, Jocko, I don't know about you, mate. My 4X is getting dangerously low, so it's just about time to wrap up. But we need to let you guys know that we've got some very exciting content coming up. Now, recently I got back from Fraser Island with Graham. It was a battle of the ages, mate. We had the big 200 series versus the Y62, and it's Fraser Island like you've never seen it before. It's an absolute hoot. I've still got tears running down my face. The amount of laughing we did on that trip was insane. You need to check it out. We also went to the Glass House. I will the big Dirty 30. First time back from the States. We did some wild tracks there. So there are a couple to look forward to. I actually just got back from Tassie as well. So that's all coming up on the channel really soon. Jocko, you've been busy too, mate.
Yeah, man, I have been. We've got some cool stuff coming up. One of the things I'm just about to go and do after we film this is we've done some ute tests, mate. We've put some utes head-to-head over the years. I thought it was probably time we looked at some wagons on the market too. So we've got that test coming up. We've got some new vehicles that are coming out or have just been released that we're going to be putting head-to-head with some others. So really excited for that one. And I was down in Adelaide recently with the team from Pacemaker checking out how their exhausts are made. So that's coming up as well. Make sure you keep an eye out for it.
Now, before we go, I just want to put it out there. If you love our content, and chances are if you're watching this far in the show, you do, make sure you've turned your notifications on, liked and subscribed to our channel. It means a heck of a lot to us. It takes you about 30 seconds to do so, and you won't miss a second of the action. And make sure as well, we're also big on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, so make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, and therefore you won't miss a single thing.
Well, Sean, I reckon with that, mate, I'm going to get myself another cold beer and hook into getting on the tools with the mighty Redlux behind me. So it was good to chat to you again, mate, and I guess I'll see you soon, eh?
Always a lot of fun, Jocko. Cheers. See you guys.
All right, Uru. See you, mate.